Сайн байцгаана уу хүн үзэгчдээ. Өнөөдөр манай Defacto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Английн ФармаТраст компанийн гүйцэтгэх захирал ноён Ража Шариф оролцож байна.
Ража Шариф их Британийн ФармаТраст компанийн гүйцэтгэх захирал. Ноён Sharif нь хууль зүйн чиглэлээр суралцж төгссөн ба тус мэргэжлээрээ 1991 онд магистрийн зэрэгээ Английн хаал их сургуульд хамгаалжээ. Тэрээр стратеги хэрэгжилтийг голлон Америкийн нэгдсэн улс болон Европын компаниудад удирдах албан тушаал хашиж ирсэн. Олон улсын түвшинд гарааны бизнес, удирдлагын шинжилэл, худалдаа, хууль эрх зүй, олон улсын компани засаглал, төслийн менежмент зэрэг олон төрлийн ажлыг хэвлэл мэдээлэл, технологийн салбарт хийж байсан туршлагатай.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Welcome to Mongolia.
Thank you so much.
I have seen your presentation about your company and how you have created a unique idea using blockchain fighting with counterfeit drugs.
Yes.
Which is itself is very noble mission.
Thank you.
Because people dying, suffering from fake drugs. So tell us why you are doing that.
So the World Health Organization estimates up to about 1 million or more people may be dying because of counterfeit drugs.
1 million?
Yes.
Wow, a year.
A year, yes. Estimates are difficult because only when lots of people die do they start testing the medicines that they are taking. And of course, a lot of people are spending large amounts of money to help their loved ones. Families get into debt. So it's a huge problem worldwide. In fact, it's a $200 billion industry out of a pharmaceutical market worth around 1.3 trillion. So the margins on counterfeit drugs are so high that actually it's more advantageous to sell counterfeit medicines than it is illegal drugs like heroin and cocaine.
Whoa.
So I can give you an example. It costs around 15 cents to make an ecstasy tablet, and people can sell it in clubs for about $1. It also costs around 15 to 20 cents to make a fake Viagra tablet, and people can sell that from $8 to $13. So the margins are very big in the fake pharmaceutical industry.
Looks like it's the most illegal, profitable business in the world.
Absolutely, I believe so. And the interesting thing is, worldwide, when legal sanctions are applied, they're usually very light because the judges don't impose heavy sanctions against people who have counterfeit drugs. But if they have illegal drugs, like ecstasy, cocaine, or heroin, people usually definitely go to jail. So there's an imbalance between illegal drugs and counterfeit.
Why? Is it because underestimating the damage, or?
I think not many people realize what a big problem counterfeit drugs are. I think, there is obviously much more kind of violence and money that people see surrounding illegal drugs like heroin and cocaine. But as I said, the counterfeit medicines is worth $200 billion. The margins are much bigger, but the sanctions after convictions usually tend to be a small fine or community service or something not so significant.
For example, the distribution network, why wouldn't have studied each country's total drugstores, go inside, check how many of them are fake? For example, in Mongolia, there was one survey which says that 30% of these drugs sold in Mongolia either fake or not permitted, and this sort of things happening, 30%. And I understand with your innovation, we can make it less.
You can actually completely eliminate.
Yeah. So tell us how.
What our system does is at the point of manufacture, we kind of give each medicinal packet like a birth certificate.
Okay.
It exists, and then that birth certificate or piece of code will follow the medicine from that point of manufacture to the point of consumption.
Okay.
So when it goes to the distributor, logistics provider, customs authorities, and then warehousing before it gets to the pharmacy, we will follow it throughout that whole
It's like you
process.
give something to DHL, right? And you know where it's exactly and how, from where, which time, when, how, where it goes now through. Eh?
You've got it, yes. Yeah.
But,
So what happens is if two packets are found with the same label, then this will create an alert on our system that there is something suspicious going on. Obviously, some people try and copy the labels. So our system would eliminate that. The other thing is if the packets miss a stage, like they didn't go to the warehouse or didn't come through a distributor, again, it becomes a bit suspicious. Why
it disappeared?
Yeah, why did it disappear for a period?
Is this code kind of, there's a normal RQ code, either RQ code or there is trade code? What is the name?
So we use
one?
QR codes.
QR codes.
2D or 3D. The
Yes.
pharmaceutical companies can decide which QR codes to use.
Well, I mean, 2D, 3D, what difference?
It's just the way they are the labels are constructed themselves. So 3Ds are the ones that are coming
More reliable.
Yeah, they're more reliable,
More
more secure.
sophisticated.
Yeah.
Three
But
dimensions.
from our perspective, we can both work with both. And we can also work with RIFID chips and environmental sensors, which are the new kind of innovations that are coming into the market.
Actually, you can use that with anything.
Yeah, so the strategic kind of decision we made was we want to be sensor neutral. So whatever sensor the pharmaceutical company wants to use, we will track that. We don't produce labels or sensors ourselves because we believe there are better, faster, more innovative companies with bigger R&D to be producing sensors.
So that sounds really, it makes good sense. So you really can track it.
Exactly.
Is it with the help of satellite? Or how do you receive the information?
Again, it depends on the sensor. So there are new sensors coming onto the market which use GSM technology, so you know exactly where they are at any given point. There are
GPS?
others. Yeah, GPS, so the phone network, actually. There are other sensors like the RIFID chips or the 2D or 3D barcodes. We track it from point to point. So when it goes from a manufacturer, they'll scan it, and then it will be scanned going out to a distributor.
So then, provided all producers, legal, particularly large ones producing, then once they use your QR code.
No, we don't produce the QR code. So they will produce the QR code. What we do is we actually integrate into their ERM systems, their enterprise resource management systems, if they have them. So if
you just install program into whatever the QR code.
Exactly.
How the pharmaceutical industry are accepting your nice offer?
Well, here in Mongolia we're very lucky because...
No, I mean in terms of large producers, original producers, pharmacy.
So there's two types of approaches at the moment. In the US this year, by law, pharmaceutical companies have to be able to track their medicinal packets. Next year, the European Union will also have new regulations that any manufacturers in the European Union or drugs coming into the European Union must have unique labeling so that it can be tracked here. And of course here, as I said, in Mongolia, we've been very lucky with the specialized inspection agency, in particular Mr. Muxalt, who's actually understood the problem, and Mr. Muxalt wants to use our system to, of course, secure the pharmaceutical process here in Mongolia.
Who is Muxalt?
He is the head of the chairman of the specialized inspection agency in the Tool province.
He is just covering, he is in one of the 21 provinces, central provinces.
Exactly. So he wants to first see the system working firsthand, and then the intention is we will, after doing the demonstration in one province, hopefully we will go throughout, spread throughout the country.
Well,
and the world.
in the world, of course. Have you been testing that in other countries?
So actually, Mongolia has been quite lucky. They were the first to sign. We are talking to 3 other countries as well. But actually, I have to say, Mongolia has been the first in the world to sign it and understand the benefits and these. The benefits and the efficiency of our system.
Well, so once by law they have QR system, okay, producers. So you can read that their QR here, so that it is from them or not, or from the fake, right?
Exactly.
So what happens if, say, you find out several discrepancies? It is not that original. What ideally you expected them to do?
So we have different approaches to it. Obviously here in Mongolia, the specialized inspection agency, they will go and find out what's happening with these medicines, why there is so many concentrated in a particular warehouse or storage, and then try and find out where they came from. And perhaps talk to the people that have been handling this. Worldwide, what we are really excited about is we want to have an automated system that Interpol will use when they see a big concentration of counterfeit drugs in a particular area. They will cooperate with the local law enforcement agencies to first eliminate those counterfeit drugs and second, find out where they came from to prevent them happening again.
Wow. And because our police is a member of Interpol, legally they have to work with them.
Absolutely.
And I mean, Mongolia itself, we don't produce counterfeit. We think we cannot. Physically, we have no equipment, nothing. And I think it is mostly from the large counterfeit producers coming somehow to Mongolia. And I think it's a very important mission for taking care of really Mongolians who needs drugs, but unfortunately who buys the wrong ones or fake ones, right?
As I said, the counterfeit drugs, the worst thing is it affects the most vulnerable members of society, the ones who are most desperate, the most ill, and sometimes don't have the finances to be able to afford expensive drugs. But of course, when you have a loved one, you want to spend all your money to keep them healthy and make sure that, of course, they stay healthy.
I think these health insurance companies should be the most interested ones.
Yes, so in many countries we have 4 types of clients actually. One is the ministries of health. So in some Western countries, ministries of health obviously subsidize medicinal products, particularly in Europe. So they want to see how much are they spending on subsidies, what they need to do for forecasting, what they need next year, how much they're wasting actually. In expired drugs, it can be up to $3 billion per annum because drugs are just on warehouse shelves and they expire out of date. So there's a lot of tremendous amount of waste as well. So ministries of health are good. Insurance companies, of course, would be interested as well because their premiums, if people are sick longer because they're taking ineffective drugs, it affects their margins, it affects their finances, and of course it affects the people as well. Regulators are another client of ours. They can see our pharmaceutical companies and the logistic providers and the pharmacies all complying with the rules and regulations. And the pharmaceutical companies themselves would get a tremendous amount of transparency and visibility of where their drugs are, how many are coming up to expiry. The one we're really excited about is when we have enough data, we want to use artificial intelligence to notify pharmaceutical companies to supply drugs to the places that they're needed when they are needed. And this hopefully will bring a lot of efficiency to the sector.
Now it looks like it's a quite kind of new industry, using new technology, processing huge database, and giving the right information to the related right customers, right,
Exactly.
through artificial intelligence. How all of this work? Why is it just because blockchain is now available, or only because blockchain it is possible to do so?
So the reason we use blockchain, I mean, there have been cloud technologies in the past. The reason we use blockchain is it gives that immutability and incorruptibility, ability to make sure people are not changing records or corrupting records. And then, so our system is technology neutral also. So a lot of people, obviously, the pharmaceutical supply chain is very complex. Different companies from different countries and all trying to supply drugs. And we can bring them all together on the blockchain. And once the data is hashed and put onto a blockchain, nobody can change it.
Yes.
I mean, theoretically they can. There's arguments about 51% consensus ability. But then the governments, the regulators and the public are happy that there can be no cover-up, records being altered or deleted when things go wrong. And what we do is we build services on top of that incorruptible, immutable record on the blockchain.
While you are doing this blockchain, kind of it's coding, right? Decoding and or encrypting any informations. How does it work? How many people work? And is it a more programmer issue, or how does it work?
So we have a system built already, and we've been testing it with dummy data on the blockchain. We've spent about 18 months doing the code to work on a network called Ethereum, actually. And we chose that network because it allows us the ability to automate payments, automate regulatory reporting, automate the audit process, to bring in the efficiencies we were talking. And essentially what we do is we plug in to the ERM systems of pharmaceutical companies and logistic providers in the developing countries. But the big advantage we have is we also work worldwide. So we can work just as well in Sudan as we can in Germany. And the way we do that is because everybody has a smartphone these days, we created apps for the customs authority who may be doing it manually, and it takes 3, 4, 5 weeks for them to do clearance. Now their app on their smartphone, on the customs officer's smartphone, can literally scan medicines coming in. So it takes about 15, 20 minutes.
A customer with at the customs office with the phone, they read our QR code, right, of the things.
They can literally just scan the QR codes. It will tell them, are they legitimate, where were they produced, when they will expire, what the drug is, etc. So that's a big advantage we bring. We don't put in specialized scanning equipment. We don't require specialized technology or software. We've simplified the whole process.
Creative destruction.
Yes, thank you. Well, we like to say creative construction.
Construction, okay.
Because a lot of many companies countries even can't afford these big scanning systems which cost $10 million, $20 million.
That's the whole issue. We have a big problem in Mongolia, and I think this blockchain gives technology that makes all things much cheaper.
Exactly.
Instead of buying huge things, not only pharmacy issue, but many other things.
Yes, there's. We specialize only in pharmaceutical, of course. We
but
don't.
however, interesting thing is you have been helping startups. You're doing now. It is startup, one of the new. It is you are CEO from August last year. You have been a strategy implementation manager at Al Jazeera Media Network.
Yes.
And that's quite interesting for me. I was given a couple of times interview to Al Jazeera.
Yes.
About elections, couple elections here in Mongolia for the last few years, and quite big network. Does it? Was it in? It was in Qatar.
Yes, actually, the Al Jazeera network, as you know, like any news network, is spread out around the world.
It was one of the largest, but with now less financing. What happened now?
What happened to Al Jazeera?
Al Jazeera, yeah.
Nothing's happened to it. I mean, they
removed the headquarters, or what
no, it's still in Qatar. It's still in Doha. Actually, they sent me to San Francisco at a point because they were trying to launch a digital channel for millennials called AJ Plus.
Wow.
So they sent me to launch that in San Francisco, which is a great achievement as well as an interesting project. So I did the English version and the Spanish version, and then I was sent back to Doha to do the Arabic version, set up the operations in any case. Before that, I was sent to Turkey to set up Al Jazeera Turk, which was another digital channel, actually. I think the great thing with Al Jazeera is they're quite innovative when it comes to modern technologies. And I was actually quite fortunate to be involved in the media online space in any case. In fact, I think AJ Plus, when I was there, got something like 2 billion views in the course of 18 months, mainly from America. So it became the most popular online channel for millennials.
What made them so popular for millennials?
It was, I mean, I was lucky that my manager gave me a lot of freedom to do whatever we needed to dominate the American market. So what we looked at is who is the target audience, and then we pushed our presenters to speak like them. So we allowed them to, obviously speak more like an American rather than a formalized TV presenter like on Fox News or something. And it wasn't that millennials weren't interested in news, it was just people weren't speaking their language. So, for example, I used to allow swearing on online because obviously it's an unregulated market. So this captured the imagination of the American youth, and they started sharing our videos, commenting on our videos, and liking our videos. So it quickly became very popular in the American audience. And because we were based in San Francisco, it was a very mixed workforce. Yes. So if you look at our workforce, we deliberately tried to make them reflect the audience we were trying to get. So we have a lot of like Latinos, we had lots of black people, lots of Asian people, people from wide, diverse backgrounds, which reflected the American population.
So Al Jazeera is more informing or more entertaining?
Well, when we first started AJ Plus, people, our headquarters used to say, this is not really news, this is entertainment. But actually it was much more an informative kind of channel. Now there are lots of copycats out there which also try and replicate AJ Plus, but I think that will still stay one of the most important ones.
Well, with all over this trend, since you have I understand Indian original but British citizen, maybe, right? You studied in University of Nottingham, University of Hull, lawyer, and you have been traveling many countries, doing very interesting media business. Then now blockchain, very interesting life. You see the world. You have been working with Al Jazeera. Just my case is, just to raise as a global citizen, I want to ask you a question. How we can make these millennials, peoples, young people in particular from across the world, from Arabic world, from different religion, just to respect each other, to have more dialogue. Otherwise we are just killing our world now every day. What's happened now in Syria, and then this is just, it cannot go like this. Even I'm concerned sitting in Mongolia, being a Mongol, I'm very much concerned every morning to hear that people are immigrating, running. Turkey has 3 million Syrians. They have a special camp, right? So how, it cannot go anymore like this. So what is the role of media here?
So I think, I mean, it's a little bit off topic, but actually we are living in times where the world has shrunk greatly. I think people are traveling more. My children, for example, travel far more than I could even imagine when I was a young person. We can communicate across time zones and across geographies just by a few ticks on our mobile phone.
Yep.
So the world has shrunk in terms of people getting to know each other. And if you look at millennials, they tend to dress very similarly. They tend to communicate with the same kind of words. Here, even in Mongolia, I'm impressed how many people can speak English. You know, I can go anywhere and communicate with the people. In terms of peace and prosperity, I'm a big believer in not having wars, not having borders, and allowing the kind of Silk Road kind of mentality that they used to have in the past, because trade brings people together, and it gives many benefits.
Sure.
And as long as, you know, you regulate trade so you don't have monopolies or you don't have unfair competitive advantages, people usually come together. And if you look at history, peace is brought through commerce.
Yes.
People like to work together.
Yes.
People like to be more prosperous.
Much profitable to have a trade instead of to have war.
Well, if you look at, I mean, I used to study the Mongolian Empire.
Okay.
And, you know, people remember it because they think, oh, there was a lot of destruction by Genghis Khan. But actually, if you look at what he did, was he unified many continents. I mean, it's the biggest continuous land empire the world has ever seen. And after he conquered a place, he would actually increase the prosperity of the whole empire. People would have safe passage, transit to trade with each other under his umbrella. And then, of course, prosperity went up very high worldwide.
That's why exactly with this note of trading, I think what you do with ФармаТраст, that you are making that trade more meaningful, profitable, and mutually beneficial for producers and for consumers.
This is definitely our hope. This is definitely our hope. We want to make it much easier to trade in pharmaceuticals.
And we want to see that reflection first in Mongolia. Thank you very much for doing that.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you for coming.
It's been a real
Thank
pleasure.
You. Thank you. За хүндэтгэгчтэй өнөөдөр манай Defacto нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Английн энэ Хуурамч имийг илрүүлж болох тийм багж хийсэн ФармаТраст компани гүйцэтгэх захирал ноён Ража Шариф оролцлоо. Баярлалаа.